Thank you, everybody, for coming to our 2026 annual meeting. We have a guest speaker tonight that will start the meeting, and then when we're concluding the session with Mayor Gunter, then we'll get into the formal agenda of the meeting. So first, I'd like to introduce Mayor Gunter. You've been mayor since 2021, if my memory serves me correct. January 21, just the same time I moved here. So we're going to ask the mayor to speak for a few minutes, and then we'll do some moderated Q&A, and hopefully we'll have some nice, informative, respectful dialogue between our community and the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. First off, I appreciate the invitation, the opportunity to come by this evening. I'll tell you a little bit, what we've got accomplished. I think more importantly, we'll try to get to the questions, make sure I can try to answer most of your questions tonight, so I don't want to sit here and speak the whole time. I got elected back in 2017 as a council member, and unfortunately our mayor had passed away in January of 21, and the council at that time had a discussion. We thought it was important, so our community didn't miss a beat to make sure that someone on council was appointed to the mayor's position, since those individuals were probably the most knowledgeable on what was going on at the time. And I agreed with that, no matter even if it wasn't me, but we had a discussion, and I was willing to step up to the plate, and the council appointed me to fulfill Mayor Coviella's term, the remaining part of the term, which was a year and 10 months, and then I ran for election in 22 and won in 22 for a 4-year term that's up into this year. When I first got elected, our millage rate was 6.75 mils. That's what determines your property taxes along with your assessed value of your home. One of the things that I committed in 2017 to do was to try to lower our taxes as much as we could, and also make sure that public safety was our #1 priority. I can tell you today, our millage rate has dropped to 5.14 mils from 6.75. If you look at any other 8-year history of our city over the last 50-some years, in an 8-year period of time, our millage rate has not dropped that much at any other time in the history of Cape Coral. That wasn't just me, that was all of council collectively. Surely I advocated for it, along with some other council members. But that's the end result over the last 8 years. We went from 6.75 down to 5.14 mils. One of my other priorities when I got elected back in 17 was public safety. I wanted to make sure that being one of the fastest growing cities here in Cape Coral, I wanted to make sure that our public safety kept or exceeded the level of what we were when I got elected. I can tell you from 2017 to today, we've hired 100 more police officers and 100 more firefighters. One of the other things that I wanted to make sure was when you called 911 that you got the available service that was needed. And I'm just going back probably about 3-4 years ago now. Lee County EMS, they're the ones that provide the ambulance service. The fire department, we have, now we have 11 rescue units at each fire station. So we went from a 3-man fire truck to a 5-man firehouse, where we also had a rescue truck. Since we do not govern how the county does the EMS units, I wanted to make sure when you called 911, especially if it was a medical call, which is about 75% of our calls, that you had the best trained individuals coming to your door. And all of our rescue units have licensed paramedics. I will tell you that at one time, when we had only 5 ambulances here in our city about 4 years ago, they went from what's called ALS, which is Advanced Life Support, which is our paramedics, to BLS, which is Basic Life Support. And I wanted to make sure that we had individuals showing up at your door who were paramedics and could provide the type of care that was needed. So that's why we really emphasize on expanding our rescue trucks. Right now we have 13 fire stations, and we have 11 rescue trucks here in the city. So most of our stations have went from the 3-man fire truck to a 5-man or firefighter, whether it's a man or a woman. And we've added the rescue trucks. I also started working when about 3 or 4 years ago when I took on that initiative to bring those rescue trucks on board. I started working with the county as well and having meetings with them, especially with Commissioner Ruane, to say we need more ambulances here in the city of Cape Coral. We were already deficient. And I thought that we needed to make sure that we had the ambulance service as well. So working with the county, right now we have 13 fire stations. One of the things that the city agreed to was to house the ambulances in the firehouses also, in our Cape Coral firehouses. That would save the county money, and they could redistribute that money to pay for additional ambulances here in our city. I can proudly say today, out of 13 fire stations, we have 10 ambulances in addition to the 11 rescue trucks that we brought on board the last 4 years. So one of the other things was a priority for me. I wanted to make sure when I got elected in 17, I went to Chief Lamb in 2018 and I said, hey, I want to get our fire department accredited. And I want it to be nationally accredited, just like our police department. Police department does a phenomenal job. And why that's so important to be nationally accredited is because you have to meet certain benchmarks, certain criteria, which makes your particular department a much better department. So that was my goal in 2018, and I can proudly tell you today, last year, and I was one of the individuals that went to the accreditation board and advocated for the fire department to get accredited. Last year in 2025, our fire department became nationally accredited. How is that important? Not only to meet those benchmarks and the criteria that I told you about. When we got accredited, we were one of 335 firehouses, so fire departments throughout the country, actually throughout the world, because it's more than just a national accreditation, Canada and some other countries. We were one of 335. We took it the next step. The next step was we have something called a ISO rating here in Cape Coral, 5 being the worst, 1 being the best. And basically what that is that depends, your rating actually depends on the rate that you get for your homeowner's insurance. And we were ISO 3, so we were like middle of the road. But there are a lot of cities that are size that wasn't even a 3. So we were pretty good at an ISO rating of 2. Here a couple months ago, we were able to get our ISO, apply for it and get our ISO rating raised from 3 to 2. So if you add the ISO rating of 2 to an accredited fire department, which we are, there's only 103 of those nationwide. So that's pretty incredible. So those were some of the priorities that I had. I wanted to make sure that how we invested in our public safety. We've opened up 3 firehouses since I've been elected. We have 3 more planned for the next 6 years. We opened a police training facility and a fire training facility to make sure, again, if you happen to need and call 911, we want to make sure that the best trained individuals was showing up at your door. So we were having problems getting our firefighters and our police officers getting that advanced training because there was very limited amount of training here in Southwest Florida. So we decided to invest ourselves, open up those training facilities, so those officers and those firefighters can get that advanced training. And also we can train other fire departments, other police departments here in Southwest Florida to try to offset those costs for those training facilities. So public safety has been one of my priorities. I think if you look back at what we've achieved, especially over the last 5 years, we've come a long way. And we have one of the best police departments and one of the best fire departments in the country. And I think that's a testament to all the investments that myself and the rest of council, city management, we're starting to see our return on investments now over the last several years. One of my other priorities that I've been working on, as we all know, and I moved here in 2007, and boy, I wish I had $1 for every time I heard a resident say this: we need another hospital here in our city. To me, that's the last piece of the puzzle. We can get the best people to show up at your door, we can have the best trained, we can get you transported, but we got to have a place to take you. And unfortunately, we only have one hospital here in Cape Coral, has about 302 beds. If you look at the data, what we should have, a population of 225,000, that's today. That's not considering any growth. Today's numbers, when you look at the national average, what we are supposed to have, on the low side, 450 beds, to the high side of 600 beds. And at 302, we're deficient. And that's something that I know I've been working on an awful lot here the last 3 or 4 months. We work with Lee Health. I remember 3 years ago, 4 years ago, doing a tour down at Coconut Point. They have a great, facility that it's not a hospital. It's basically a medical center, an expanded medical center that they do on-site outpatient surgeries there and things of that sort. And they said, "Oh, we're gonna build one of these, in Cape Coral," and that was about 4 years ago. I've always been pushing for a second hospital. Know that we were deficient. I've heard the horror stories of people going to the emergency room and sitting there for hours on end. So I know that it was extremely important to get another hospital. So about 6 months ago, started reaching out to other health care providers. Spoke with Lee Health, and they've done a lot. They've invested a lot. They just opened up that facility down at Bimini Basin, and they just broke ground next to Lowe's, and they're going to have a smaller facility there. I am looking for a full-service hospital with hospital beds. That's what I am looking for. So with staff, our EDO department, city manager, myself, we started really looking at healthcare providers throughout the nation. We're this close. I can tell you we're this close. I met with some the executive team of one healthcare provider, and I can't name their name at this time, but they're extremely interested in coming to Cape Coral. We've had discussions on, they've identified property, they've identified some incentives that they're looking for. Our EDO department has been working with them, trying to help them on any type of incentive programs. I met with the CFO. They came down from the middle of the country, and the director or vice president of operations and the vice president of construction. So we sat down, myself and city manager, had a meeting with them. So I know they're wanting to open a hospital here. This isn't a small healthcare facility. This particular healthcare facility has 160 hospitals nationwide. So they are a big player. Again, I'm hoping that we'll have an announcement here within the next couple months or so. But I can tell you that they are just as eager to get here as we are to have. And so I really believe, you're going to see that come to fruition here soon. You know, you can't build a hospital overnight. Again, even if you add, because we've been talking with them, they want to start out at about 250 to 300 beds. So if they start out in that area, and then you add that to the 302, we'll be on the higher side. But if it takes 3 years to build the hospital, you know, what's our growth going to be at that time? I think it'll be a great starting point, and you know, we'll have a second emergency room, and you know, another 250 to 300 beds. So to me, that was the last piece of the puzzle that I was trying to achieve when I was working through this public safety, you know, expansion here in our city. One of the other things I wanted to mention, you know, I talked about property taxes earlier. Had a meeting today. I'm the president of the Southwest Florida League of Cities. I'm on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities as well, and I'm on their executive team. So I'm one of 15 people throughout the state that's on the executive board for Florida League of Cities. One of our concerns, and I'm sure you've heard it, we had a meeting today at Southwest Florida League of Cities, and Senator Martin was our guest speaker. And you know, our legislation right now is in discussions. Well, their legislative session just ended, but they're going to have 2 to 3 special sessions here in the next couple months. And one of those special sessions is going to be property tax reform. And Senator Martin said today, you know, one of his desires to completely eliminate property taxes. What's that mean for Cape Coral? Hey, as a resident, you know, I say, boy, I don't want to have to pay property taxes if I have to. But unfortunately, there's a ripple effect to that. And just to give you an example, we bring in about 158 million or so a year in our ad valorem tax. Out of that 158 million, 102, 103 million goes for public safety. Public safety. That's police and fire. You know, we have a FSA rate here in Cape Coral, 81%. 19% is paid, the remaining 19% is paid out of general fund, and then the rest is the police department's budget that we pay. So if you take a look at that and you deduct the 103s from the 157, you know, we're down to about 54 million left over. And that's to pay for parks, public works, and a variety of, you know, our employees. Some of our employees is paid through our general fund dollars. So it's very alarming when you start talking about the property tax reform, especially today when you heard Senator Martin say that, you know, their goal is to eliminate it altogether. That House bill that was put forward, that was approved by the House of Republicans, was to do an additional $100,000 each year on your homestead exemption for 10 years, to do a total of $1 million over and above the $50,000 homestead exemption that you get today. That would be catastrophic for not only our city, but any city. Especially, and Senator Martin did recognize that today, you know, we're one of 7 cities in the state that's pre-platted, but when you look at our ratio between our residential tax base and our commercial tax base, we're about 92 to 8%. You know, and anybody that is in financing will tell you we should be about 70-30. That's where the sweet spot is. And because, you know, you want the commercial businesses, and I have a business here in Cape Coral, you want the businesses to contribute, because typically when the businesses contribute their commercial tax dollars, they have a very little need for the actual service itself. So they're a donor. Where right now, 92% of the bills is on our backs. And, so if you talk about eliminating property taxes, who's going to pay the bills? You can't even rely on the commercial tax base. Now, one of the things that the senator brought up today is, he says, well, there's other ways that we can do it. Sales tax. Well, we would have to take our sales tax 2 to 3 times greater than what it is now to offset those dollars, to be net neutral. And so we're going to hear a lot of discussions about this. I just wanted to bring it to your attention today and try to put it in a little bit of a perspective. Again, all of us would love to not pay property taxes, but I promise you, if we don't pay there, we will pay somewhere else. And in my opinion, it'll probably be worse. I know I don't want to go to dinner and pay 15 to 18% sales tax. They even said that, well, we'll let the counties and municipalities determine what everyone's sales tax rate is. That's what Senator Martin said. So what's that going to do? Well, that's going to hurt us commercially as well, because, and he even said that Cape Coral would probably be affected the most out of any city in the state because of our 92 to 8% commercial to residential tax base. So, if, say you're a car dealership and you're interested in opening up, are you going to go to a city that has the highest sales tax? No, you're not going to. We're trying to attract businesses here. When I first got elected, we spent $0 in incentives. We spend over $3 million today with incentive packages to bring businesses here. And a lot of it has to do with giving back their tax dollars and TIF. And I won't get too much into that tonight, but I think it's important, the sales tax going 2 to 3 times higher. That means when you go to the grocery store, when you go out to dinner, you buy a car, you go buy a TV. I mean, that's on just about anything you can think of. Sitting at home, buying something on Amazon, you pay your sales tax. You're getting it delivered to your door, if the sales tax goes to 18%, that's what it's going to be. So I think we got a lot of work, or our legislators have a lot of work there. But the only thing that I ask my residents, because this will be a referendum that'll have to come back to the residents of Florida if it's passed. And I don't think there's going to be something on a referendum this election cycle. I guarantee you that. They've pretty much told us. The governor's pushing it. The Senate's for it. The House of Representatives are for it. So we're going to see something. What I ask each and every one of you to do we finally, because we don't know what it's going to be, whatever it is, and that's one thing that we'll have to do as a city, and every city and county throughout the state will have to do the same thing, is we're going to have to try to explain to the residents what the ripple effect is. I can throw a rock in the water, that's easy, but what's the ripple effect? And the devils are in the details there. And so we got to really look at this, see what the advantages and disadvantages are. So that's one thing that really scares me. We have a lot of decisions that council's really talking about now. I'll give you an example. The yacht club, I know you all have heard about the yacht club, what we're going to be doing down there and the cost of it. We're getting ready to build another wastewater plant that we have to build up in the northern part of the city. That's about a $250 million project. So we have a lot of big projects we still need to build. The other thing is we're only 55% built out. We don't have the luxury like some cities do that are just maintaining. We have to maintain and grow, because of the growth that our city has experienced. We're going to need more firefighters. We're going to need more police officers. We're going to need road infrastructure. We're going to have to build another wastewater treatment plant up north, and a lot of other infrastructure projects along the way. So we don't have some of the advantages that those cities have that are already built out 100%. So that even makes it more complicated for us. But when City council looks at some of these projects that we're talking about now, the big elephant in the room is property taxes. You know, when you look at the yacht club, I don't care if it's a $190 million project or a $90 million or a $50 million project. There's probably going to be a bond that we will have to get, a loan, to pay for that project. Well, the last thing that I want to do, you know, here's how I look at it. You know, I've been a business person for going on 39 years now, and I'm self-employed. But whether you work for somebody or you're self-employed, if you knew that, hey, maybe next week or next month you might lose your job, are you going out to buy a new house or a new car? Nope. If I'm in business for myself and I'm going, boy, my business may go under here in the next couple months and I'm going to lose all my revenue, am I going to try to expand or am I going to go buy a new house or a new car or whatever? Absolutely not. And that's where we're at as a council right now. You know, because we don't know what's going to happen with this property tax referendum. You know, it kind of scares us to death, to be quite honest with you. It should scare you because it could be catastrophic. So when it comes to borrowing money, you know, I'm a little hesitant when you look at some of these projects now. Some of them we have to do because of growth. Again, there's, you know, wants and needs. But, you know, if we're going to lose some of our tax dollars, you know, one of the things I had heard was from our legislators, and it actually was worse than that, if we got a $200,000 homestead exemption instead of 50, we'd lose about $25 million here in the city. And that's a $200,000. I told you the House put a bill in and it passed, went over to the Senate, they didn't pick it up, but that was for $100,000 a year for 10 years for up to $1 million in exemption. And then Senator Martin said today, hey, Matt, we want to do away with it completely. And he, you know, he was pretty passionate about it. So we got to see how that's going to work out. And I think that, you know, we're going to, for me, because we're in our FY27 budget discussions right now for next year. We had our first 2-day budget meeting, January or February. We have some more coming up. You know, that scares me, to be quite honest with you. So, you know, this budget cycle this year could be a status quo until we figure out, because we're not going to know till November. We approve our we approve our budget October 1st. It's approved in September, goes into effect October 1st. So we won't even know how the referendum's going to turn out because it's going to be in November. You know, so, you know, I think that this budget cycle for me this year is almost going to be a status quo until that answer is answered. Once we know that, then we'll decide, you know, what type of projects that we can move forward. Luckily, with the yacht club, you know, we've already started the seawall replacements, and we will hopefully have a unsolicited bid submitted for the marina aspect. As you know, we've had a few people that reach out and said they are concerned. We did put an RFP out only for 30 days. We didn't get any response there. I think we were partly to blame for that because we only put it out for 30 days. And I didn't think that gave some developers time to do their due diligence. So after the fact, we've heard from a few. So kind of hopeful, keep my fingers crossed that we can get something done where they'll pay for the docks in the marina. About $25 million improvements down there. So why don't we, you got some questions you want to ask?
Let me get a microphone and we'll do some moderated Q&A. And for the people on Zoom.
There's no one.
There's no one on Zoom, okay. Okay, let's start in the back
First.
Okay, I'm going to start in the back and work forward. Okay, here we go.
Hi, yeah, the property tax question, there was a poll done of Floridians and it seems about 35% are in favor of getting rid of that, but property insurance, lowering that, the 65% of Floridians want to do something about that. And I have a second question if I can do that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I agree. with Hurricane Ian, I'm also on a board called the Florida Municipal and Trust, Insurance Trust, and I'm a board member, about 20 of us on that particular board, and it has to do with insurance. There's a lot of cities that get insurance through the Florida League of Cities, through the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust. So, I get a lot of information on insurance through that, through that board. Ian really hit us hard, and the first thing that all the insurance companies did was raise our rates. No matter if it's our home or our cars. I just, the other day, my car insurance was up for renewal. And just for giggles, where we used to live up north, we put in there, online, hey, if we lived there and same exact cars, insurance was half the price. Just because you live in Florida, and because of the hurricanes, it's double the price. Not to mention flood insurance. I do believe that that's something that our legislators are going to have to tackle, and they're going to have to put some guardrails in when it comes to how much the private industry can raise our rates. Unfortunately, you have Citizens Insurance here in Florida, but with all the hurricanes that we've had, it's not really a viable, sustainable product when it comes to what we're paying into it and what they're paying out of it. So we definitely have to have our legislators advocate for some guardrails for sure when it comes to our insurance industry. And that's also at the federal level. That's not just at the state level.
Yeah, because the prices went up when our property values went up, but now the values are going down. What, are the prices not going down?
Don't hold your breath on that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Only go up.
Yeah, I just got my insurance bill the other day for my vehicles, and no accidents, no tickets, no nothing. And here, we're 3.5 years after Ian, my rate still went up.
Okay, right here.
Mr. Mayor, David Reyes, I'm a resident from the area for 14 years, and I have seen a lot of growth, particularly within the EV, electrical vehicle. There's over 60,000 for what I understand in the city now, and we don't have a super charging station that will manage that, and it's a concern for the EV people, particularly when it comes to hurricane preparations and stuff like that. Having aimed to expand the business for people to be able to have the ability to charge their EVs here in the city.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny. I was out looking at an EV vehicle myself here, I don't know, about a month or two ago, and kind of contemplating that. But, when you look at, and I'll give you just one example, Florida Power and Light. They have a program that you can invest with them, and they've done it with other municipalities for those EV stations. There's other businesses too that you can partner with. But you definitely see it with the electrical companies throughout the state. Unfortunately, we have LCEC. They don't have a program like that. But I do think that that's something that we need to look at, is to make sure that we did a study a couple years ago on EV vehicles, and at that time there wasn't as many vehicles, but I think that's grown. I think I heard you say 60,000 in Cape Coral.
Yes, sir.
I would be highly shocked if we had that many. But I will go and try to get an updated number. But that's something that maybe we can try to partner with a private vendor, possibly have an incentive program, something called a private-public partnership. Now we do have a couple stations that were put in down at the at the Cove project. That was one of the things that we advocated for. We're getting ready to build a couple surface parking lots in the downtown area. We did, as a CRA, have a discussion about a year or so ago. Maybe that's something that we could put in, but as that industry continues to grow, that's something that I think we definitely need to explore to try to have a P3, or to see if we can get LCEC to do a similar program like FPNL does.
Okay, there's a question up here.
I just have one referring right back to the idea of not having homeowners paying taxes. It's really concerning because there are a lot of people who pay rent. If we don't pay taxes, they're going to be carrying the burden of things much more than we will. Because they won't be getting, they'll be paying for more things at the grocery store, going to shops to buy clothing for their children, everything. That really is, we're making poor, and we're attacking poverty, or attacking people that are poor rather than poverty. And would you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's surely going to be the case. I mean, you're less fortunate individuals, and I remember being one of those people, 30-some years ago, when I was in my early 20s and living paycheck to paycheck. Boy, if I needed tires on my vehicle, boy, I had to plan well in ahead and try to put, $20, $30 a week away because I couldn't afford to buy them, all 4 tires at the same time back then. So that could be very catastrophic. A lot of the people that aren't as fortunate, they live paycheck to paycheck. I think, going to the grocery store now, and my wife does the shopping, but she'll give me, not too long ago, she gave me a list of like 10 things. So I go in the grocery store and I pick up the 10 things, I walk up to the cash register and the lady said $75. I'm going, I didn't buy anything. But, I just can't imagine somebody that's, young, I have young kids, that's just getting started in life, and insurance is through the roof.
Single parents?
Yeah, you have single parents. So they, if this bill passes, that could really impact, the people that aren't as fortunate. And that's something that we got to think about. The other thing you mentioned, rent. Is that property owner, if he doesn't have to pay taxes, is he going to lower your rent? I wouldn't hold your breath on that one either. So that's something else. But we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out.
Okay. Got a question here. We're going to work our way forward, Jen.
Yes. Do you have any plans to alleviate the traffic congestion on the roads in Cape Coral?
Yeah, I wish I could go like that and it happened. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we just recently did as a council, we changed our road impact fees to mobility fees. And the average person doesn't really understand that. But what that does is that basically, road impact fees, there's statutory requirements, what you can and can't use that with or on. Mobility fees, it really relaxes what you can use it on for transportation needs. Road impact fees is basically for expansion. So if I'm going to go from a 2-lane to a 3-lane, then we could use road impact fee. But if we just want to put a traffic signal in and things like that, you can't. So that's one thing that we passed here recently. The Cape Coral Bridge, I was just reading an email that we just got there. That's going to go from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. I know we are talking about looking at Midpoint Bridge, also speaking with the county. I have a meeting about every other month with the county commissioner, Commissioner Wayne. Some of the issues for us, if you're traveling from Cape Coral over there, I think is there's some things at intersections over there, that improvements that would help with that as well. Burnt Store Road, we all know that we've done all of the widening of Burnt Store Road, but 5.7 miles of it. And speaking with Commissioner Wayne, I know the county is getting ready to apply for a $250 million grant to pay for a portion. The Cape Coral Bridge is about $550 million, but the maximum grant that's allowed through the federal government Department of Transportation's $250 million, you're going to apply for that, hoping to get it. They put Burn Store Road as a priority to go ahead and get that done. They're getting ready to spend about $5 million here in the next couple months of improvements. That's just a Band-Aid. They're going to widen the road, put some rumble strips in and things of that sort to make it a little safer. We're looking at Chiquita Boulevard right now, from Cape Coral Parkway to Veterans First. That's probably going to be widened at some point and go to 3 lanes each direction. We also, Pine Island Road, that's a state road. One of the things that we did with Pine Island Road is before you can do a widening of a road, you have to do what's called a PD&E study, which is planning, design, and engineering. That has to be done first. That's about an 18-month process. Pine Island Road, it needs to be widened now. But unfortunately, that wasn't even on the state's horizon to do the PD&E study till, I think it was 2035. So the city, the last 2 years, put a total of about $4.5 million and paid for the PD&E study for Pine Island Road. So that's in the process right now. I did meet with the Secretary of Transportation when I was in Tallahassee about a month ago. And they pretty much told me we don't have enough money to do all of Pine Island Road. So they want to do a phased-in approach. The city, we agreed to that because something's better than nothing. I don't want to spend $4.5 million on a PD&E study, stick it on the shelf, and nothing gets done. So the state came back to us and said, look, we'll probably do about a third of it, and we'll have to wait to do the other sections. So that's better. Something's better than nothing. So we are working on that. So we do have a lot of things. We're doing a study also. We've identified 10 priority intersections. Here we got a grant that they're doing a study for, that intersections that could possibly need to be signalized. We're looking at roundabouts to see if we could do the roundabouts instead of the signalization. There's some grant opportunities there once we do this study that we can apply for some grants where the federal government will help with some of those expenses. So we are in the process. We just started that process. That's about a year process for that design and study. So that's something else we're working on. So we do have a lot of things, in the works. We're a growing city, and we got to make sure we keep up with those transportation needs.
All right, last 2 questions, John, and then you, sir.
That's right. It appears to me that our permitting process is quite slow and cumbersome. Any plans to speed that process up?
Yeah, I will tell you, and a great question. We, it was about a week and a half ago or so, we got an update. Our city manager, we hear that a lot, and I'm a home builder, and I have a commercial and residential contracting license. I've done a little of both over the last 39 years. When I first came here in 2017, one reason that I ran is because I thought our permit center was horrible. I have a license in 3 states. I probably worked in 30 municipalities or counties before, and Cape Coral was the worst. And that's one of the reasons why I ran. We're better, but we're not there yet. And our city manager just did a study. The Florida statute says when, as a resident or a contractor walks through the door and he or she applies for a permit, by law, the city has 30 business days to review the documentation and to get back with the applicant, whether that's approval and issuance of the permit, or if they're deficient in any manner in the process or with the paperwork, they have to provide that information. That's what the Florida statute says. Our policy has been, we want to do it in 30 calendar days. So we want to do it in 4 weeks versus 6 weeks. Now, our city manager just did a very in-depth study. It's public record. It was just presented, our last cow, Joe, is that what it was? Our last cow? That has some great data in there. And, you know, we looked at the last year, 2025, you know, Ian was an anomaly.
Yeah.
You know, we had 40,000 roof permits, just in roofs, with Ian here in the city. You know, not to count all the other damage. So, you know, you got to kind of take that out of the equation. So that's why we wanted to look at last year, and that's what the city manager did. And I believe, was it 7, Joe? Only 7 out of 40,000 permits didn't meet the 30 business day criteria. Only 7 out of 40,000 permits. So we did fairly well. When you look at the counties in relation to ours, we were better than the county. You know, we went to Intergov, which is a new type of system. We have what's called push button permits. Some permits you don't have to go through a process. You just apply online, like a roof. If you have a house, you can go online right now, put your name in there, or if you're a contractor, put it in there. If it's a re-roof, boom, you get the permit. You don't have to have that review. And we've identified several, I think about 15 different permits today. I think we could do more. One of the things that I think that we could maybe do a better job is if you have there are some projects, seawalls is an example. Seawalls today in the city, you have to have a certified engineer stamp set of drawings. Well, if you have a licensed engineer stamp the drawings, yep, it meets the requirements, Florida statute, I'm putting my name, I'm putting my stamp on it. Why do we have to give that to a person in City Hall that doesn't even have the same qualifications as the engineer? To me, you just got to make sure the paperwork's there. Hey, is the notice of commencement there? Is, you know, the stamp valid on the engineer that stamped the drawings? Is the OW affidavit in there? You know, just look at the paperwork. Yeah, it's all there. Issue the permit. So we are much better than we were, but I think that there's still room for improvements. And I know the city manager has put that as a top priority on his list. That's why he's been working with his staff. He has a meeting every day, every morning from 8 to 9 with his permitting managers and the department directors. And they've been doing that for the last several months. They've even changed some processes. I've made some recommendations along the way. We have some forms that have to be notarized that get kicked back, and you have to start the process over. If you go over to the county, they don't require you know, to have it notarized. The Florida statute doesn't mandate it to be notarized, so why are we notarizing it? You know, so just simple stuff like that. It may sound simple, but you may turn the paperwork in, not have that document notarized. It kicks everything out.
Yes, thank you for coming, Mr. Mayor. I built my home here in 2011 in Sandoval, and I really enjoy living in Cape Coral. I think it added to most of our quality of life in this town. Having said that, I'm a big proponent of preserving some open space. For example, there's 45 acres just adjacent to us. About 10 years ago, that was zoned agricultural. Then they changed the zoning to mixed use. And it's mostly lakes and water, and it's beautiful. There's eagles there and everything. So that to me is like an example of an area that would be prime open space. And keep in mind, open space doesn't add to your challenges of more schools, more infrastructure, et cetera, which you were well aware of. So it also, in addition, it changes the atmosphere, if you will, of what your town looks like. You know what I mean? So if you have some nice open space and you balance that, I'm not trying to be rude, but there's a lot of apartment buildings. We need some. There's a lot of car washes. We need some. Okay? And storage unit. I didn't get there yet.
We have put some restrictions on car washes and storage.
I think if you have the ability, and not specifically to start to manage how many are coming, like there's one here at Surfside now, next to, what's it called, Starbucks. And then right across the street on Pine Island Road, that nice complex went in, and there's a car wash being built right in front of it. I mean, where I came from, not that it matters, but I have home to New Jersey. We didn't even want one in our town. We said, look, the neighboring towns have plenty of them. We don't even want one. But, I mean, I think you get it.
Yeah, I get it. You know, and the dollar stores, you didn't even mention the dollar stores. I think all of those, yeah, I think if you look at all of those types of projects, we have to make sure that, you know, we have smart growth. Just because you have growth doesn't mean it's good. It's got to be smart growth. One of the things that City Council did here recently when it comes to car washes and storage facilities, we put restrictions. You can't have them within, you know, a certain amount of distance, you know, from one another. We even did the storage facilities, we based it on population. I guarantee you, you're not going to see probably any storage facilities built. I can't remember when the next threshold, I'm going to say it's about 240,000, that triggers where they're allowed to build some more storage facilities. But it's going to be several years before you see any storage facilities. Now, with that being said, we just made that change, I'd say within the last year. There were some that had already started the process that were kind of like grandfathered in. In other words, if you had already submitted for, you know, when it comes to commercial development, the first thing that you do is you submit a site plan, and then you get your utility permit to do all your underground utilities, and then you have your structural permit. Sometimes that takes a period of a couple of years. So if you had already started the process, you were exempt from what the new regulations were. But those regulations are in place. One thing that we do have to be careful, very careful about, we have, and I just spoke at Southwest Neighborhood Association. One of the things they were complaining about down at Four Corners, they were building a 7-Eleven, and the community didn't want that 7-Eleven gas station there. You know, in our city, just like every other city, you have something called personal property rights that we have to be very aware of and be very cautious of, because as a city, if we go in and restrict somebody on their zoning or future land use that they have now, and they can show a loss, it's something, there's case law, it's called Byrd-Harris Act. There's case law that we would be held liable. So if you buy a commercial property and it's zoned commercial and the future land use is commercial, and you look down on our list and it says this is what you can build here and this is what the future land use will allow to be built. If we try to tell somebody no and they sue us, we're probably going to lose. So we got to find that fine balance. That all comes with that smart growth. You know, we can tweak it like we did with the car washes and the, you know, in the storage facilities and put, you know, some restrictions on there. And then not to even make it more complicated, we have something called Senate Bill 250 that was passed 2 years ago that even puts some more restrictions on what the city can and can't do when it comes to development. So we have to be careful with that as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, I'll stick around. So I know we got a short period of time here. I'll stick around. If anybody has any questions, please just come over and talk to me.
I'm going to take the opportunity to embarrass the mayor. Basically, most of you guys know me pretty well in here, and I'm pretty tough on colleagues and other people. And I've watched the mayor in council as a councilman from 2017 and through his years as mayor. I will tell you this, there is no one who works harder, who understands what the city needs into the future, and who is more fair in helping others to learn and understand that than this guy right here. And you know, for what it's worth, and I've worked with a lot of very substantial people in private industry. This guy could be in my foxhole any day, and I'm proud and honored to be in his foxhole. And he's one hell of a mayor, and we need his vision into the future. And Mayor, thank you again for being here.
Thanks, Joe. Good evening, everybody. I'm your general manager, Chuck Keel, if you haven't met me. I have the honor of introducing our moderator tonight, which is Kayla Thomas from Burnham Law, and I'll hand it over to her.
Hi, everybody. How are you tonight? So, my name is Kyla Thompson, and I am the attorney for the association. And actually, Steve Adamczyk is the attorney. He's my partner, and he could not make it tonight, so I have the pleasure of being with all of you tonight. So tonight is your annual meeting, and what is required to hold the meeting is that at least 30% of your community has to vote either online or turn in a limited proxy to hold the meeting. And we have not met that tonight. Oh, no. And that's okay. It's okay. Because you did not have an election tonight, right? So it's okay. But you did not meet that tonight, so technically we're not having an official meeting. However, I believe that we're gonna have some presentations to discuss different issues that are coming up in the association anyway afterwards. But I do have the pleasure of announcing who is going to be on your board of directors for the next year. And that will be Jerry Culbert, Mark Murphy, David O'Donnell, and Robert Purcell. And so the board on Monday will be holding an organizational meeting where they will be deciding who will be holding the officer positions for the next year. And with that being said, that's all I've got, folks. Thank you.
All right. So that makes your board for 2026 Stan Toro, Dave O'Donnell. Dave, you want to stand up? Dave's already standing up. Dave, Jerry's back there. Mark, is Mark here? You don't see Mark here? No, he's not here. Rob Purcell is here. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Lisa.
5.
Lisa.
Lisa, I forgot Lisa. Sorry, Lisa. There's 6 of your 7 board members for this year. Give them a hand.
Yay.
Volunteers. That I don't know, but I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and we're going to do some presentation. Oh, Lisa first? Okay.
Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. Even though we're an unofficial meeting, I do appreciate everybody's involvement in what's going on in our community. And I know I don't have as exciting of stuff to present as the mayor did, but I did want to go over just a few details of what Safety Security has been working on. So some of the key messages I'm going to go into, and then we have our police presence, our access control review, and some speed sign data reports. So the key messages are that the police presence has helped in limiting the bad behavior that we were experiencing in our community. So we're very thankful for that. Review has started of other options for gate management and access control providers. And based on monitoring data, the traffic does continue to be mostly compliant, exhibiting limited excessive speeders. So going over our police presence, the board approved a special detail through Cape Coral Police in April of 2025 based on significant issues with vandalism and dangerous roadway behavior, primarily by youth. This police patrol was initiated for 7 nights a week of coverage at first, and the officers talked with and educated youth about safety. That did help considerably. So in August of 2025, a resolution was passed allowing the president, treasurer, and safety security liaison to change the frequency of patrol to 3 to 7 nights a week as needed, and patrol was reduced to 4 nights a week to be mindful of the budget, because we are aware it's an added expense, but we feel it has been helpful for the safety of our community. Because then in mid-January of this year, the police detail was increased back to 7 nights a week due to an extreme uptick in incidents with youth harassing residents and vandalizing common property, and we just don't want to see that. So we will continue to monitor both the neighborhood activity and the police detail. We do receive activity logs for what they are doing while they're here. So we just want to ensure safety of the community and be mindful of our budget dollars. As far as access control, so I know we've had some frustrations with that, and we are aware of it. Sandoval has utilized Envera systems for access control, gate management, and camera surveillance since 2017. We've had a number of complaints by residents. We've had some different service issues and issues with getting response from Envera as a vendor. It's also a best business practice to review this market and just make sure that we're providing Sandoval with the best technology and service possible. So we do want, there's a couple key considerations, that the network of this safety measure is very complex, involving 3 access gates, 2 guest kiosks, about 70 cameras that actively monitor our assets, as well as thousands of vehicle and resident access tools. So a change to this system would not be undertaken lightly due to the high impact to our residents. So we're currently evaluating the different vendors that are out there, and we will be providing results of that evaluation later in this year when it's completed. And then as far as traffic calming, so we did implement in June of 2025 the speed limit signs on Sandoval Parkway and Sandoval Boulevard. The data, we've collected data from those through March 6th of 2026, and they show that approximately 97% of incoming drivers on both the Boulevard and Parkway are driving less than or equal to 30 miles an hour, with over 80% at or below the speed limit of 24. The big green sections of the pie chart are 20 to 25. So the majority of our drivers are driving within the speed limit that we desire. As far as volume throughout the day, the highest hours are between 3 and 5, which is pretty much expected with people coming back from work or school. And go ahead, yeah. And then traffic speed by month. So each of the months that we have been collecting data so far, you can tell that we do still have a few incidents of reckless behavior by that big tall bar chart. But if you look at the absolute max versus the average max, which is that second bar, the middle one, you can tell that there's only a few, and that the majority of our maximum speed is at like 30 miles an hour. So not too crazy, but we are still trying to keep that under control. So the Safety and Security Committee is involved with issues that impact all Sandoval residents. So we really want to be mindful of what we're doing as a committee, and we could certainly still use some help. So if you could consider volunteering to join the committee and help be part of the solution, we would greatly appreciate that. So that is all I have. Thank you so much. Did you have questions? Yes.
I just wanted to mention, by having the police presence and also the private security, I think that has a big deterrent impact, because kids talk and they say, hey, the police are there, or the security, they're stepping in. And if I ever call, they're very receptive to the call, and they act on it. And I don't try not to bother them, but
Right.
you know when you should be calling. And I would tell you that will be a big deterrent for future behavior, because I remember in 2011, 12, and 13, this was like, I used to call it Sunsplash West. People came from all over and hung out here, and eventually the word got out that, hey, they're going to lock you up for trespass possibly. I think that's a good step in that direction.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I do appreciate those comments. And then something that
I'm sure you probably considered this, but it's worth mentioning again for the gates and the youth coming through the gates. Would it be a thought to use your ID, your tag, to exit and enter? I actually witnessed it myself. 2 youths, one jumped over, pressed the exit button, put her bike there, and the other youth came in. But if they did, so both of them don't belong here, obviously. So if they didn't have a tag to swipe, that gate wouldn't have opened.
that is a good point. I'm not sure if we want to be adding to the time frame of exiting, and that is part of what, security and the police are monitoring, but I will definitely add it into our notes as a consideration.
You have to tag to come back in.
Right.
So you just swipe it to go out. So it wouldn't be any time consuming, just put another.
Yes.
Visitors don't have tags.
Yeah, businesses.
Visitors and businesses will not have tags.
Yeah.
They won't be able to get out of the UPS truck.
True.
I thought the walking gates.
Oh, okay.
The pedestrian gate.
Where the children are.
Walking up. What a change.
Got it, okay, I see what you're
We
saying.
have people, we have to hit that button to
Oh,
go
it's the,
here.
okay.
You know, this red button on the wall. Yeah.
But if I don't have a badge, I'm having a heart
And-
attack, you're gonna keep me in the building?
Yes, I know a number of people have. I'm not sure that there's an absolute answer to that. That's part of.
If they live here, right, they're just.
Right.
But if they don't
Yes.
live here.
And we have had, we have had the police at times stationed at our main gates, which that is a deterrent. They've actually stopped dozens of kids from doing that, but they can't be here 24/7. But definitely a concern.
There was some scary, that's a longer
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say something about what I've experienced. Back in November, October, November, there were 3 boys riding bikes, and they were just riding chicken in front of me and wouldn't let me get by them, and I just rode slowly behind them. And then as it went along, I would start to wave at them and smile, and now they just wave back to me and we're running away. Because I'm being positive.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes if we're like that, it might help.
That is true, yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes it hasn't. It's gone the other way, but yeah, it definitely, any type of positive energy that we can put out in that world, I think is a good thing.
Just looking at some of those speeding statistics, it's
Yes.
hard to imagine somebody going 70 miles an hour on any of those streets.
Streets, yeah.
My question is, are the police empowered to ticket speeders? Or are they here just for security?
They are here so we do not have a traffic enforcement contract with them here. We just have a patrol contract. So they can enforce reckless behavior and reckless driving and things like that, but not write an actual traffic ticket.
60 miles an hour, that was a little far quick.
It's crazy. That's true. I don't know who it was exactly. We don't have, cameras on the speed signs, but we just track that data, so.
Supposed to go 24.
Yes.
And under.
Why is it 24?
That's an odd number.
Keep these cats alive.
I don't know. I guess Bonita Bay decided that was a good
Because
number.
when they wanted to keep it below the speed control,
Oh,
because they start at 25,
right.
except now you do them at 15, so it's kind of a waste to have it at 24.
I like it.
That is a consideration. Anything else? Yes.
The first thing I wanted to say is thank you for stepping up.
Yes.
And everything you do for the community. And secondly, I've had so many incidents myself with these youth, the way they are playing chicken in front of the car, swearing at me, giving me the finger, so on, so on, so on. But I think it makes a big difference when the police are at the gate, especially Veterans Gate, because I noticed that many times the kids are jumping the fence over there, the walk-in gate. They jump the fence, they wait for people to drive through, then they sneak in. They do everything they're gonna do to get in. But I noticed that when the police are here, that it does make a difference because they honk all their little horns and they all have their little bells or horns, whatever they have on their bikes when they see the police. So they know to go the other way.
Definitely, yes. Word does get out,
So
so.
it does help to have you, it makes a big difference. It deters them from coming in, so.
Okay, thank you.
How about making it impossible to jump over by putting spiky things up or
Well, I'm not sure about the aesthetics of that really, but it is a lot.
Like a prison.
Okay, I think we're done with questions. Okay.
Hey, as you know, I talked to a lot of residents, and one resident brought an idea up yesterday in the parking lot here. He's sitting way back there. Rob, do you want to ask that question? You want me to? No? Okay, I might get the mileage wrong, but you can help me out with the mileage. Mayor, Councilman, one of the concerns that we have here in the community is our basketball court. A lot of the kids that come in here that are not welcome are drawn here because of the basketball court. It's a beautiful basketball court. It's open till 9 o'clock at night. The unfortunate thing is that's where the problems exist. And a resident brought to my attention that these kids really don't have any other basketball courts within a proximity of, I think, Jeffries, 3 miles to Jeffries, and the next basketball court maybe at Sands, and I think they're building one at Cape Christian. They have one there? So is there any possibility to build a basketball court here at the sports complex just outside of our fence to help alleviate some of the issues we're having here, where they can play over there because it's a public park? It's just a question that was brought to me. So if you could take that in consideration, that'd be great. Sorry, Rob.
Thank you. All right, so I think we've covered that enough, so we're going to move on to our treasurer's report.
Okay. This is basically the report that I did last month for the year-end financials, and I just thought I'd go through it again to show everybody where we stand and answer any questions people have. So the year-end financials show that the operating income was slightly below the budget, and the operating expense was below the budget, which was the good side. Total reserve income was $50,000 less than planned, but that was mainly due to the home sales last year were very low, and we expected like twice as many sales as we actually had. And the reserve spend was below plan also. Operating expense. Payroll's below plan. The administration was higher than planned due to costs for mailing things such as mailing things out to the neighborhood. We didn't think it was going to be as expensive as it was. The contract services was over budget, and that was mainly due to the board's decision to bring in the Cape Coral Police Patrols. And common landscaping, that was above plan, or above budget, and that was because of increased irrigation and water main break repair. Neighborhood tree, okay. The neighborhood tree mulch, this was actually adjusted up with January mulch invoices. We had that backed out, so we came within plan. And then the other thing was the professional services was over budget, and that was due to litigation expenses that we had. All right, the balance sheet, we had total assets of $8,532,365, and our total liabilities and equity was $8,532,365. Reserve project spend for 2025, we did not complete some projects because it was difficult getting contractors sometimes where we budgeted for it, but we didn't get it taken care of last year. We did have some additional expenses that we paid for out of reserves, mainly surrounding the pool and repairing the pavement on Ashbury. And then the water main breaks. So we had approximately $200,000 in reserve spend that we didn't have planned. But overall, we still came in under what we took in for reserves. And then this I wanted to show everyone because it affects all of us. This are the delinquencies where at year end, $134,437 was due to the association that we never received. And just as a comparison, in January of this year, that went up to $277,510. And I do not, for the life of me, understand why. But what it is every time there's a new quarter, our delinquencies go way up, and then they start to come back down. And so in February, it dropped by about $50,000. And what I have trouble understanding is, if you don't pay, you're gonna get late fees, and you're gonna get interest charges, so you're gonna owe more money. But that's been a pattern for the last few years, that beginning of each quarter, when payment is due, people don't pay on time. So that's been, like I said, been going on for years. I don't understand it, but we are trying to collect the money. When we changed management companies, because of that process, we had to back off on some things because the way it was transferred over was not right. So you have to allow a certain amount of time before you can try to go to collections and put liens against people's property. So we have tools now that we didn't have before that we're going to start to utilize on delinquent residents. And that's all I have, but I'll answer any questions people may have. Yes.
Have you ever considered no mailouts? Everybody gets Chuck's GM every Friday, you know, what's going on for the week. So I assume everybody has an email. So if they want to have a paper copy, then maybe the onus should be on them, like $100 per year if you want to continue.
Actually, a few months ago, we looked into that. And there are 3 different sources for where emails can be stored by residents. One is on the Sandoval website, one is with Precedent Management Company, and the other site is with, it's a software tool called Constant Contact. I went in and I dumped all 3 of those files and did a comparison of email addresses. And I don't recall the percentage, but there was a fairly large percentage of residents that had completely different emails on the different systems. So we have to try to figure out what is the correct one and try to get residents to provide the current one if we're going to try to use that for communication. But it is being looked at, and we just haven't figured it out yet.
Because I'm a snowbird and I still have this proxy here or that home. I'll probably receive it in another 2 or 3 weeks. I'm always about 5 weeks after everything's happened.
Are you talking about the first quarter statement?
I just got it.
Because I still haven't received mine.
Yeah. You know,
So that's what prompted us to, you know, maybe we need to look at this a little closer and see if we can come up with good email addresses for residents. But I kid you not, one of the residents had a different email address on all 3 files.
Is it possible to give everyone who has a residence here?
Pardon?
Is it possible to give everyone who has a residence here a Sandoval email?
I can't force people to take a specific email. It would also cost money.
Yeah.
I mean, if the resident wants to share their email address with us, that's great. And I think what some of this is, you know, the resident, when they moved in, they had an email address, and for whatever reason, they decided to create another email. And
Well, when you go to Live Sandoval, Live Sandoval, you actually have to make your own, you have to put in an email address and sign up there.
Yeah.
Why don't, I don't know why when you sign up for one email address, you don't go on all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
The other thing is that I used to have my money going directly for this automatically out of my checking account from the bank. I actually had to stop because the bill was $3 different this month, and you overpaid on this month, you underpaid. It was absolutely going crazy. And then when the new company came in, they almost like they wanted to force you onto ACH, which I don't want to do. I want to send it from my bank directly. And there was no address anywhere to be found.
The address on the current management company, the address is on your statement that you need.
Now it is,
Yeah.
but when it first came out, it was not there.
I don't have an answer for that.
It was really kind of strange. I stopped sending it automatically, and now I wait for the bill to come. And now with the post office the way it is, it's coming a month late.
I don't know what to tell you on the post office.
I just think when you.
Yes.
On the delinquencies, is there any remedies other than a lien? If a lien doesn't, even if you place it, you don't necessarily collect any money until that property. And so, I don't know, are there options like collection agencies or something like that?
Well, what we do is when we get to the point of collections, we turn it over to our legal counsel. And then they try to collect it. If a homeowner has a lien against their house and they try to sell, that money's gonna be taken off the top.
Yeah, I realize that, but that could be 20 years from now.
Yes.
So one tool that the association has, which the board has to set up a process for, is in our Blue String Fiber contract. There is the ability for the board to suspend internet access to an account that is in delinquency. So it has, but the process has to be worked through, and the board has to approve a process before that can be done. But it's another quiver in our, another arrow on our quiver, I should say, that the board can use going forward to try to reduce delinquencies.
And they use any of the functions.
Pardon?
To cancel their use of the function.
Wait, that is one of the things we do, and we've been doing that, is when it hits that certain point, we can turn off their amenities. And if it's, you know, what we found is that if it's a small amount that they owe, the first couple of days that they have to go through the visitor's entrance to get in, they pay. There are other residents that owe thousands of dollars, and they just, you know, I don't know why. I have no idea, but they don't mind sitting in the visitor's line. So, anything else?
Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.